Alphabet moves into Uber territory. Has your password been pwned? ET prank calls SETI. Laptops that you can write on with a real pen. And let's all pinch and zoom. All that and a whole lot more coming up on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1589, recorded Wednesday, August 31st, 2016. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100-plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/TNT.
And by Tracker, a coin-sized tracking device that pairs with your smartphone and keeps you from losing your most valued possessions. Visit thetracker.com right now and enter promo code TNT for 30% off your entire order.
And by Trunk Club. Get clothes that fit and look amazing without ever stepping into a store again. Trunk Club will help you create the wardrobe you've always dreamed of with your own personal stylist. Go to trunkclub.com/TNT and join Trunk Club today.
Welcome to Tech News Today. We are the Ren and Stimpy of technology news.
I can't remember any of the catchphrases from Ren and Stimpy. Otherwise, I'd be firing them off right now.
I have an endless amount of pairs of things that you
I know.
don't
I think you have a
remember what to
list.
do. I do. Yeah.
You must have like a list.
It's a Wikipedia.
Oh, okay.
Let's get to the tech news. I'm Megan Morrone.
I'm Jason Howell. And yes, let's get to the tech news.
All right. Well, Alphabet has officially launched a new carpooling service to take on Uber. Users of the Waze app can sign up to be a driver or a rider. Riders pay 54 cents a mile. And as the service gets off the ground, drivers won't have to pay Google a cut. Ooh. Now, tests of the program imply that in the future, they will take 15%. Google's going to, or Alphabet is going to take 15%. So far, it's only in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, with 25,000 employees of local tech companies able to take advantage of it. But I think they're rolling it out. They're slowly offering the ability to be drivers to Waze users who have signed up. I looked at my Waze app. It offers me the ability to be a driver or a rider. Tony Wang, who is the producer here, he has signed up for it.
He got it like a week ago.
He got it on Monday. Oh, did he get it a week ago?
Yeah, he got it last week at some point.
Oh, yeah.
I remember because he sent a quick email and
yes,
said, I got this.
So he signed up for it. Like, he had to give away a lot of his personal information. I think he had to give away his firstborn daughter in order to do this. No,
why did you do that, Tony?
He did not have to do that. But he did have to, like, give his social media accounts. And
okay, that's better than Social Security. I think.
He might have had to give his Social Security. He had to give his bank account information.
Okay.
I mean, you're getting into the car with someone. You would hope that there was something that, would make them, I don't know. I mean, I will tell you that Tony's a great guy. Get a ride with him. So he commutes a long way here. So maybe that's why they let him in, because he is traveling from an area where people commute from too. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, so it sounds like they take information, but they're not necessarily running background checks versus like an Uber or Lyft where there are these background checks. So there's that aspect. I don't know if that's going to make people feel super comfortable just having that extra, step of, insight into the fact that that person that you're getting into their car may or may not be, an unsavory type. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to bother people, but riders can filter out drivers based on bad reviews. So there are methods with this supposedly to kind of check up on people who might be giving you a ride and all that kind of stuff. And riders are limited to 2 rides per day. So there and back, essentially.
Mm-hmm. We talked about this when it was rumored a little bit. And, what we said is like carpooling has been around for a while. Like you could go to a BART station and, and ask for a ride. There's lots of places where you can do this. So there's adding a little bit of technology to it is helpful. But you're right. Like just because someone has a bank account and their social media accounts doesn't necessarily mean that they're the right person to step into a car with.
But at the same time, like, yes, using technology to drive something like this Like, whereas before somebody might have not know how to set this up, like, hey, I actually do drive a long ways, but I don't know necessarily the method to set up some sort of a carpool with someone who might benefit from this. And hey, it happens to be good for the earth, you know, to save on carbon emissions and whatever. So I should do this, but I don't know how to do it. At least now it's using the technology so that if you are empowered, you can sign up to be a driver and everything. But I guess we'll see how far out kind of Google's ambitions are for this. It seems very localized right now.
The bigger part of this story is just the fact that, you know, we always talk about how Uber can't be beaten in this game. Like they're the ride hailing service. Lyft has nothing on them. You know, they're also getting into self-driving cars. And now for Google to say like, hey, we can do this too. And just as, you know, come in, it then becomes like a David and Goliath situation where, you know, they're the small fish again. Uber is. And so I don't know. I mean, just yesterday, David Drummond, he is from Alphabet. He stepped down from the Uber board position. So they're not, I mean, Google Ventures had invested in Uber $250 million at one point in 2013. But, you know, they're definitely, this makes them more competitors than we've ever seen them before, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Google's doing this. I mean, we were just talking about it yesterday, right? With their Android effort and the Nexus, don't call them Nexus anymore. You know, possibility with the new devices being more competitive to their partners. So it's kind of part of their DNA, it seems like. Siri is about to get a big upgrade in its capabilities, according to Nathan Olivares-Giles from the Wall Street Journal. He had a chance to try out the improved Siri as part of iOS 10, the upgrade that's expected to be revealed in more detail. I think it's next week, right? Next week's Apple announcement.
Wednesday, September 7th.
There we go. I know you're going to be on hand, right?
I am.
Have fun with that. And then we'll talk all about it on TNT. Anyways, the changes are going to enable Siri to control third-party apps on iPhones and iPads. A small list of apps including WhatsApp, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Square Cache, and Slack are first on board with the functionality. So essentially it's going to enable certain types of voice commands that interact with these apps. For example, Siri, send Megan $100 in cash. Okay. And then the funds would be transmitted to your account automatically. Congratulations. I don't know what you're going to do with that $100, but you can spend it on whatever you like. Siri, send Romeo a message on LinkedIn. Oh. And a direct message would be sent to Romeo. Also more complex queries like Siri, show me photos of what Dave Pensado was wearing at the Pensado Awards in Look Live, and then it would know how to kind of parse that and work it into the app in question.
So we've known about this feature in iOS 10 for a while, since their big announcement. That was the thing that I was most excited the last time Tim Cook stood up and gave us a big announcement of anything. And I said, you know, Siri would work so much better if you could integrate it into apps, and then like Siri with apps. But it's so few apps, and you know, I don't use any of them. I mean,
yeah, it's a small list.
The biggest one you've heard of is LinkedIn, and how often do I send messages to people in LinkedIn? Never, unless I get fired and I'm looking for a job. Then it would be great. But
Slack,
let's hope
Slack's
I don't.
on there. We use Slack
true.
for
We
TNT.
do use Slack. Sometimes. That is good. And WhatsApp, I know a lot of people use WhatsApp.
Yeah.
The photo one is interesting. Look-see, is that what it was called? Looker?
Oh, I didn't know.
It was Look something, and I downloaded it. It's like, I guess you figure out what people are wearing when or something. You know, it was just it was a weird
Look Live.
Look Live. So yeah. I don't know. Yes. I mean, Siri is better than it used to be, but it failed so many people in the beginning that so many people are just like, no, Siri is dumb, and they'll never use it again.
You keep trying, it keeps not working, and then your kind of confidence in it. Yeah, that's been a big kind of criticism that I've had on voice kind of commands, voice entry, all that kind of stuff in general, is that if it's not going to work 100% of the time, which maybe it's too much to ask something to work 100% of the time, but close to 100% of the time, then we'll be less likely to want to use it. Nathan did say that using voice was much quicker than launching an app and typing out queries, which actually kind of ties in with our conversation. I think it was a couple of days ago, the interview that we had there. So, you know, I have to hope anyways that they've worked it out enough so that it is so that it doesn't require specific syntax, because I think that's also a killer. If it's got a certain syntax that you have to like almost memorize ahead of time to know this goes before that, and if they can get it to a point, and it seems like it kind of does have that to begin with, but if they can get it to the point to where it parses in a more natural language sort of way, then it becomes really powerful, and I think a lot more people will want to use it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think it's a behavior thing too.
Yeah.
People always complain about Siri doesn't understand what I'm saying. And then you don't hear people complaining so much about Alexa not understanding what you're saying. And first of all, that's because Alexa is not widely available. It's mostly early adopters who really want this technology to work and believe in it. So you don't have a lot of us complaining about that. It's also, that's the only way you can interact with Alexa is by talking. So you're going to try again. If I'm going to ask Siri something and she says, I have no idea, or she shows me something on the web that wasn't what I asked for, I'm just going to say, well, I'm just going to type it in because I can. But when you're dealing with the only way, the only input is speech, like on Alexa, then you're going to keep trying, and maybe it gets it the second time or the third time, and you forget that it didn't get it because you don't have it any other way. So I think that is part of Siri's problem too, that we just think, it's the same with voice. We talked about that with the scientists from Stanford, that, if you can type it in, and you think that, and that's what you've been doing on a phone, then you think that that's faster, even though it's really scientifically not faster.
Right. Yep.
Well, if you're curious why Dropbox reset your password last week, that is because you haven't changed it since 2012, and because the previously reported leak was a lot worse than they thought. Sources showed motherboard files with email addresses and hashed passwords for over 68,680,741 accounts. The data appears to be legit and appears to come from Dropbox, according to security expert Troy Hunt and a senior Dropbox employee. But this really only might affect 34 million of us. That's half of what they say, because Hunt says at least half of the passwords have been protected by a strong hashing algorithm known as bcrypt. If you're worried, our advice, as it always has been, is change your password, make it strong, and enable two-factor authentication.
Two-factor is your friend, as long as you don't mess it up when you're setting it up. So they had originally mentioned this breach back in 2012. Dropbox did. And it was interesting because I was reading up on some articles from then, and they were pretty much dead certain that it was just email addresses. It's interesting how this kind of saying that word, interesting. We got to stop saying that. But it just kind of opens up over time, and suddenly, actually, they had a little bit more. But in the case of this, from what it sounds like, these passwords pretty unlikely to be obtained. Thankfully, they were hashed, they were salted, and that's a lot of extra protection on top of those. So, are the people who have access to this data, are they going to be able to action onto those? I don't know. But I got an email, but I have definitely changed my password since then. So I don't know if they're just doing it to everybody that may have been part of that list, because I think that I was part of that list or whatever. If you go to what is the site? I've been pwned.com.
Yeah.
You do that search, and it said the Dropbox list. And I was like, oh, okay. But then when I checked my password, I was like, oh yeah, I've definitely changed that since then. So I'll change it again.
I mean, they don't, like Dropbox and others will want to say, you must have just used the same username and password, and it was the LinkedIn hack. Like, that's what they say a lot. Like, oh yeah, so that was your Dropbox password. It was probably your LinkedIn password too. So that's why, we weren't hacked. LinkedIn was hacked. Somebody else was hacked, and you just used the same password. That's what they want to believe. That's what they want people to believe. But Troy Hunt, he looked into it. He found his wife's Dropbox password that was a random 20-character password that had been generated by LastPass. So he knew, like, that was only her password for Dropbox. Like, that was not a randomly generated password that she used also in
another place.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And so, this is Dropbox. So I think that is part of it too. But yeah, go check. I have been pawned. It's PWNED, to see if your login, your email, your password has been part of any breach. It probably has. Sorry to say.
You put in your email address there, and you've crossed your fingers like, I hope it doesn't come back. Oh man.
I know, because I have some awesome passwords that I kept close to my heart. Like, they were so good, and I remembered them, and I can't use them anymore, and that makes me sad.
It's okay. Just password manager, and then you just don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah, it's true. In related news, Spotify is also resetting users' passwords as a security precaution, just in case you use the same password for your Dropbox account as you did for your Spotify account. Do not do that. Do not.
Yeah, don't do that. Okay, let's see here.
Note.
What's that?
You haven't gotten your Note.
I haven't got my Note 7. I'm really excited to get the Galaxy Note 7. I ordered it weeks ago at this point, but I haven't received it yet. And now I know why. Samsung has held back shipments of the device due to expanded quality testing. Though Samsung isn't clarifying exactly what kinds of extra testing were happening, it's probably due to recent reports that we're hearing from users that Note 7s have been exploding due to faulty batteries. So it's this old saw, the exploding batteries and phones thing. It's unfortunate for Samsung because it comes at a really critical time for them. They've had a great year. The Note 7 momentum was supposed to kind of continue their upward trend right now. And I'm guessing, I mean, here's photos of one of the battery incidents where, I mean, thankfully it was just plugged in while the guy was sleeping. But he was asleep. He heard a loud pop, looked over, and his phone was on fire. Now, to Samsung's defense, in this case anyways, it's reported that he was using a third-party charger. So that is one thing to consider with all these phones, right? Like we have a million different chargers hanging around, a million different USB-C cables everywhere. Probably not USB-C cables. You probably only have a couple of those, but
micro USB.
Micro USB cables all over the place.
An embarrassment of riches of micro USB.
Exactly.
So I can't use any of them for my phone that I'm going to get, my Note 7 you're going to give me?
Recommend that you use the one that ships with your phone. Like that's the one that's cleared to work with your phone, and there can be little inconsistencies that can result in voltage fluctuations, and
burning.
Next thing you know, pop and and then there's an article written about you.
I don't want that. There was the picture of the guy with the iPhone that was in his pants too, and it burned his thigh. We didn't show that because it was too gross, but it can happen to iPhone users as well. So the Note 7 might explode, but it has a headphone jack, so who cares?
Well, it does have that going for it. It's a headphone jack with flames shooting out of it, basically. So hopefully this doesn't slow things down. You know, I have to imagine that a blip like this, you know, gives people second thoughts on orders that they've placed, and could actually ultimately result in millions of dollars of a difference, you know, versus just having the stock to ship out. So we'll see if that affects it.
Well, I want to make you a promise. If scientists have found ET, I would like to assure you that if you watch this show, you will be among the first to hear about it. Because as I have said before, we are the Mulder and Scully of tech news, and we do believe that the truth is out there, and the truth is not out there yet. Or might be out there, but we haven't found it yet. Earlier this week, the SETI Institute heard something interesting in their search for extraterrestrial intelligence, but today they're reporting that the message is probably coming from inside the house.
Oh my goodness.
The Russian Academy of Science is reporting that subsequent processing and analysis of the signal received is most probably terrestrial in origin. So not extraterrestrial.
So we did it to ourselves.
We did it.
This is also what you say when it's real and you don't want everybody to freak out.
Good
right?
point.
Right?
Good point.
Like, what would actually happen if suddenly they came out and they said, well, we found life and they're on their way? Mass hysteria. So, right? Am I right? Or am I just conspiracy theory spitting conspiracies right now?
I think we'd all go to Netflix and watch ET just to see what we should do, and you know, stock up on M&Ms or Skittles or whatever it was.
that is the force that unites the galaxies.
So have you heard of the Reese's Pieces? Thank you. You know, when I was young and ET came out, I collected Reese's Pieces for ages in order to get. I sent them in for an ET doll.
Really? You could do that?
Yeah, back in 1981 or 84 or whatever it was when the movie came out. I can't remember. So Fermi's paradox, that's the question of why, you know, we haven't heard from extraterrestrials. Cornell scientists recently updated it. They say it's unlikely to happen for 1,500 years.
Oh, so I'm not going to see it when it happens unless they also figure out how to keep you alive for 1,500 years.
I think Google is going to do that, so.
Yeah.
They'll keep you alive, not me.
I was just thinking Google's going to be alive for 1,500 years. We'll all be dead. Up next, a roundup of some major announcements pre-IFA in Berlin. But first, let's take a minute to thank ZipRecruiter. They're the sponsor of this episode. Are you hiring, or do you even know where to post your job to find all the best candidates? It can be really challenging. If you want to find the perfect hire, you need to post your job on all of the top job sites. And that's a challenge because there are a lot of them. But with ZipRecruiter, you can do that easily. Posting jobs in one place isn't often enough to find quality candidates. They're everywhere, and they're sprinkled throughout. With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to more than 100 job boards, including social media networks like Facebook and Twitter, all with a single click. You just post one time, and then you're going to watch the candidates roll into the ZipRecruiter easy-to-use interface. ZipRecruiter offers optimized pages that look great on any screen. You can also add their unique mobile apply process for more visitors and applicants. You can find candidates in any city or industry nationwide. I mean, it's filled with candidates for you. No more juggling emails, no more juggling calls to your office. You can add multiple users to your account to help you manage this influx of applicants. Quickly screen candidates with real-world questions using freeform, multiple choice, or yes-no formats, so you can get right to the good ones, basically. Figure out who falls through the net and who you want to call back for an interview. View candidate responses in conjunction with their beautifully formatted resumes, rate them, and hire the right person fast. So find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by over 1 million businesses. More than 125 million candidate applications have been delivered. Right now, you can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT to check it out for yourself. And we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today. All right, so IFA in Berlin begins on Friday. It's a yearly event that helps to usher in a season filled with tons of smartphone, laptop, and wearable releases to get consumers salivating in time for the holidays. Yes, it is that time of year. 4 companies have beat the event to the punch with big announcements today. Since there are so many products, we aren't going to cover everything. There were too many, but we're going to highlight some of the standouts from each of those events. First was Acer, who showed off a few laptops. One of them is the Swift 7, has a nice catchy name. It's less than 1 centimeter thick. This thing is tiny, like it's super duper duper thin. Also super light, 2.48 pounds in total. Has a 13.3 inch full HD IPS2 display, 7th generation Intel Core i5 processor, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gig SSD storage inside, 9 hours of battery. It's running Windows 10. And just kind of a nice, slim, powerful laptop for you, available October, starting at $999. Really slick-looking device. They also have like a kind of like a yoga convertible version of the Swift as well. But we're not going to talk about that because the other one is the Predator line of laptops. But specifically in this case, let's take a look at the Predator 21X. It's a gaming laptop with a 21-inch screen. It actually looks like it ate a plate full of Swift 7s for breakfast. This thing is huge. You can do the side-by-side here as Kara's showing, and you just see the difference, like, what is going on? It's almost 10 times as thick as the 7, if you happen to be keeping score. So the 21X, like I said, 21-inch screen, dual GeForce GTX 1080 GPUs. It's a beast. It's meant specifically for gaming. In this configuration, it can only be special ordered. So they didn't list the price, but you have to imagine it's expensive, multiple thousands of dollars, because the kind of smaller versions of the Predator of this series you can order, and that'll be like, I think the 15-inch version is $1699. So this thing's got to be pretty darn premium.
It's ugly.
It's not. I wouldn't say that it's meant to be attractive necessarily. Gamers might find it attractive.
Maybe. It looks like the PowerBook I had in 1994.
Yeah, I mean it's chunky.
That's about the thickness of my PowerBook back then that I had in college.
And that seemed slim at one time.
It did. Yeah.
Illuminated keys, got the like full-size mechanical clicky keys, the backlit for gaming, 4 speakers and 2 subwoofers. This laptop has subwoofers in it. Anyways,
well,
cool.
Lenovo showed off a stripped-down version of its Moto Z modular Android phone, the Moto Z Play. They're targeting a price of $400, and they cut some corners to get such a low price compared to the Moto Z and the Moto Z Force. But the company promises that the Play is the longest-lasting battery in the history of Motorola smartphones. And guess what? They're going to throw in a headphone jack for free.
No.
Yeah, free headphone jack in that Motorola Play.
Nice of them.
Yeah.
That's a bonus. That's the kind of thing you just don't see nowadays.
I know,
a headphone
true.
jack.
It's true. So it's it's an Android phone. What do you think of it? I don't know. There was just a Moto Z and another Moto Z Force. There was the how many more Moto Zs do we need?
Well, apparently we need one that's only for Verizon, which is what you're getting right here. Because Verizon has its Droid family, and Motorola always seems to be the ones that get to enjoy the Droid branding these days. And so, 5.5-inch 1080p display, 2 gigs of RAM, 3510 milliamp hour battery. So they say that's rated around 50 hours. So that is, that's a pretty great long-lasting battery. It is running Marshmallow. Launches next month on Verizon in the US as the Moto Z Play Droid.
So it's running
Moto Z Play Droid.
It's running Marshmallow, which means you can't get Nougat?
Well, it doesn't ship with Nougat. It'll probably get updated. You have to imagine it'll at least get updated to Nougat. It better, or else there will be scathing reviews written about it if it didn't. But I'm sure Motorola plans, but you just don't know when. That's the problem.
Well, the star of Lenovo's show was the Yoga Book, which looks like a 2-in-1 convertible tablet, but does things a bit differently. It has a standard 1080p touchscreen on the top half. The bottom half is a writing and sketching surface, completely flat, that doubles as a touch surface keyboard. Now it flips all the way around instead of detaching. You can also use real ink on it to take notes. Real ink. Now, don't write directly on it, but you can write on a piece of paper on it where the keyboard was, and then your notes will be digitized, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. You can also take a photocopy of the paper that I just wrote.
If you had a photocopy machine, you could take a picture.
You
could take a picture of it.
No, that's really cool.
I know,
I
but
like
if you're
that.
writing and then you want to just immediately, you're right. It's kind of a show-offy thing that looks cool, but you realize, just take a picture of your notes and call it a day. Take a picture on your iPhone, send it on your MacBook, and look at it on your iPad.
Like you're using a regular pen, and then you look up on your screen and you've got everything more or less like with the levels of pressure. It's 2048, so it's got a decent number of levels to kind of give you the difference between the fat versus the thin and all that kind of stuff when you're writing. And it has Android and Windows configuration, Windows 10 configurations for this. I think what's interesting is this like flat keyboard style. And Lenovo has basically said, like, we plan on bringing this to more of our laptops. So get used to seeing the keyless keyboard. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Well, it has haptic feedback, right? So it you don't really know that it's not a keyboard. If you're typing,
believe that when I see it.
If you're typing a lot, I don't know if this would really work for you. But it's interesting that keyboard would just show up when you needed it.
Yeah, I just don't know how much I would want to type on a completely flat surface like that. Like if I ever have like a tablet, a large screen tablet, and I'm using the touchscreen keyboard, I've always tried to like use it like normal instead of the hunt and peck that we do on our smartphones. And it's not the same, but maybe you get used to it. I'm sure once you dedicate yourself to that form factor, you probably get used to it over time.
Right. I think that's the key. You have to dedicate yourself. Because even the iPad Pro that I have, I think if I really, really tried to use it as my main machine, I could, but I just don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. Asus had a slew of announcements. The Transformer 3 Pro is like Asus's very own Surface Pro. It's running Windows 10. And it's complete with a kickstand for more comfortable typing, kickstand on the back, as well a keyboard that you can clip into place in the bottom, 12.6-inch 3K resolution display, 6th gen Intel Core processor, 16 gigs of RAM, up to 1 terabyte of solid-state storage. It has fast charge for the battery, so you get 60% in 50 minutes for your laptop. That's not too bad at all. And, of course, it has the stylus capabilities built in as well. That starts at $999. So I guess if you like the Surface form factor, here's an alternative for you. Everybody seems to be doing that these days. I think Huawei had one of these not too long ago as well. They're trying to out-Surface the Surface, I guess. If you need a portable second screen for your laptop, Asus got your back with the Zen screen. It's a 15.6-inch portable screen that connects via USB or USB-C, only 8 millimeters thin and 1.8 pounds. The screen has a kickstand as well. So this is meant to be like a portable, throw it in your backpack with your laptop, you go somewhere. I could see this being useful for things like video editing or whatever, but I'm sure everybody has their own uses for something like this, a second screen, because once you work with 2 screens, it's really hard to pare down to one. So it's nice to have a mobile kind of version of that.
Absolutely.
269 euros on that, no release date And then finally, Asus also showed off its ZenWatch 3. It's an Android Wear device with a rounded 1.39-inch AMOLED display at around 400 by 400 resolution. It's actually thinner than the Apple Watch, they say, at 0.39 inches thick. It has 3 crown buttons on the side. I'm not quite sure why. One of those controls Android Wear, to the spec, and I'm not sure what the others are going to do. And up to 2 days on a single charge, or so they say, which is always the case with the battery ratings. 229 euros, no availability yet. Looks like a pretty nice phone, or nice smartwatch, I guess. I've kind of fallen out of the smartwatch thing. So.
Yeah, you don't wear it.
God, I don't know. My watch just kind of sits on the charger at home, and I don't have the charger plugged in. That's probably why it just sits there and I don't wear it, because I never plug the thing in. So it's never charged.
Yeah, I think there are drawers full of these smartwatches. But we have another one.
Oh, goody.
Samsung, we heard they were going to show off their next wearable, and they did. It's the Samsung Gear S3 smartwatch running Tizen. It comes in 2 versions, Frontier, which includes LTE, and the Classic for Wi-Fi only. Samsung went for a more classic look as opposed to the S2's modern sleek casing. Here it looks more traditional, more rugged, partially due to the larger 1.3 circular screen. Now, some say rugged, some say bulky, some say heavy, some say, traditional. So there's no pricing available yet. If you want to learn more about these products and everything else that Padre thinks is important from IFA, you can watch our special. It starts tonight at 11:30 p.m. Pacific time. It runs all night until 9 a.m. tomorrow, and then the next night, because they're in Berlin, and when in Berlin, you stay up all night, although it's not night for them. And you can also download the special. Just go to twit.tv/specials.
They're just doing a live stream all night tonight?
They're walking around it's like the live view.
Yeah, that's just craziness. 11:30 to 9 a.m. Wow.
Right, but it's the day for them.
Yeah, no, I know, but still. but not really, because they just left. So it's actually the night for them.
Did they
right?
I don't know. I think they left yesterday. Didn't they leave yesterday?
I doubt that their internal clock is adjusted.
Yeah, that's true.
I have to imagine.
They're
man.
young.
Yeah, exactly. Those whippersnappers. Cool. It'd be good to watch it.
Well, last week we talked about the weird fluctuation in Amazon's dynamic pricing. And Peter McDonald wrote TNT at twit.tv to say that he is reluctant to believe that this is a mistake based on Amazon's past behavior. He says, this is not the first time Amazon has made such a mistake. Back in 2000, they implemented a differential price feature. If they perceived that you were highly likely to buy an item based on searches, browsing history, etc., then they would increase the price. Those that they were not sure about, they would give a more competitive price. And he also sent us an article from Biz Journal that pointed this out from 2000. Bezos said this was a, quote, mistake. But, I mean, that was 2000. Think about the data they have now to decide what they're going to charge.
For sure.
So, I mean, this is the same thing. It's like Uber does this. If you... they got in a lot of trouble when someone on a podcast implied that if they know if your battery is running low on your phone and could conceivably charge you more for an Uber ride if your battery was running low because you were probably feeling desperate to get where you needed to go. They don't really do that. But, I mean, when you're talking about these companies that are, charging us things that we're paying money for, and they use dynamic pricing, they have a lot of information about us that they can use to base the price of things on.
Yeah, especially a company like Amazon that's as much of a powerhouse as it is in what it does. Price differentiation, according to economists, is called price discrimination. So there's a different word for it. That
I call
paints
it price
in a different,
gouging.
That works too. The White House's Council of Economic Advisors published a report last year called Big Data and Differential Pricing. They did an investigation into the practice, and around that time, Amazon had said that they did not alter pricing for different people. So if this is happening, Amazon is consistently going on record and saying that it's not. So it'll be...
Well, they said this was in 2000, and it was a test that they were trying, and they refunded everybody's money too. They said it was a test, they apologized, and they gave back people's money who they charged more for it. But
there's still the perception that it's happening right now. Another industry that it seems to happen is airlines, right? Like I feel like we always hear about if searches for a particular type of particular flight go up in frequency, or if you search for a flight and then you come back a day later and you find that it's shot up, there's the stories about that being tied to your search of it might have actually driven it up. So if you wanted it at that price,
right,
get it right then and there.
Exactly. Well, after the break, Sam Machkovech is here for our weekly gaming news. But first, let's take a minute to thank Tracker, the sponsor of this episode. With advancements in technology, we have smart cars, smartphones, smart homes. Then losing your real stuff can make you feel less than smart. Tracker makes losing things a thing of the past. The Tracker Bravo locates misplaced keys, wallets, computers, backpacks, bicycles, even pets in just seconds. The coin-sized device is constructed with anodized aluminum for the thinnest, most durable tracking. You can easily attach it to your items via key loop or adhesive. Tracker is enabled by Bluetooth LE, so the battery lasts up to a year. You can add a laser-engraved message to each Tracker Bravo, like return or pet info, and you can now personalize your tracker with a custom printed image. I have the Tech News Today tracker right here. It's got our little logo on it. It's very cute and blue. You can get your own image put on there, or you can get this image, any image you want. Pair Tracker to your iOS or your Android device, and you can find its precise location with a tap of the button. And you can track up to 10 devices at once. Customize two-way separation alerts so you're notified before you leave your item behind. And if you lose your phone, you press the button on Tracker and your phone will ring even if your phone is on silent. Tracker Atlas works with your Tracker Bravo or your third-party Bluetooth tracker to pinpoint your items on a customizable floor plan of your home. You can save time and energy by simply asking Tracker Atlas where your item is, and you'll instantly get an answer. No need to search. With over 1.5 million devices, Tracker has the largest crowd GPS network in the world, so your lost item shows up on a map even if it's miles away. If you lose your item, the Tracker app records its last known location on a map. When another Tracker user comes within a 100-foot range of your item, you will receive a GPS update of where your item is located. So go to tracker.com and never lose your possessions again. Plus, just for you, just for our audience, you can enter promo code TNT and you will get 30% off your entire order. That's THETRACKR.com, promo code TNT for 30% off your entire Tracker order. We track our calories, our steps, our children. It was only a matter of time before we decided we also needed to track our eyeballs. Joining us to talk about his experience with the Tobii iX controller is Sam Machkovech from Ars Technica. Welcome, Sam.
Hello, hello. Are you here to examine my eyes? Is that what's happening this week?
Yes. Now, I pronounced it Tobii, but now I'm thinking maybe it's Tobii. Tobii iX? Is it Tobii or Tobii?
I don't even say it out loud. It's about eyes, not about speech. If it's a speech recognition thing, then that'd be a different story. I call it Tobii. I don't care.
Okay. Or maybe Tobii Eye, because it's two eyes.
Tobii, I.
Tell us about it.
Well, it's an eye tracking device, even if the name is a little silly. The iX is based on an infrared technology that looks right at your pupils and sees exactly where they are aiming. You don't have to crane your neck in order for it to recognize. Why would you need something like that, you might ask? Well, what I found was this could have some really good use in gaming as a way to augment the way that you play. And there have been games that have supported this $140 device in the past, Assassin's Creed in particular. The latest one is Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which I got to review for Ars Technica about a week ago. And I got sent this add-on to see how it augments the gaming experience. The idea being, when you look around, the game recognizes that and can adjust the camera, or it can fade certain things on the screen in and out. So there could be menu elements that clutter up the screen. If I'm not looking directly at, for example, the weapon selector or the map, then that's dimmed out. It gives you a little bit more peripheral view. It actually let me sort of look up, down, left, and right just to adjust my view a little bit. And in another example, it let me look to where I wanted to sneak. Deus Ex is all about sneaking and stealthing through a futuristic cyberpunk world. So I like the idea of a world about augmenting yourself to be a better battler, having the augmentation of having your eyes be tracked. Now in the video, if you're watching the video version, you're seeing right now me looking at things on the screen without moving my neck, and the system's recognizing that. So in some cases that meant I would look at a little ball and it would explode, or I'd look at an alien and its eyes would meet mine, which was really weird. And in the game experience, it felt like a thing that was not necessary, but was absolutely cool. It worked. It felt like a thing that I don't know that it'd be worth it for just one game, but for a lot of different first-person games, being able to sort of glance at things instead of having to manually use your mouse to directly look at a thing is really useful. Like a game where there's like a bazillion things in a cabinet, and you just want to grab one of those things. Usually you have to aim your mouse or your joystick exactly at that thing to look directly at it. With this little doohickey, with the Tobai, you just look at it. Whether it's on the left side of the screen, right side of the screen, wherever, you just look at it and the game recognizes that you're looking and says, oh, you want to read this magazine, you want to pick up these pills, you want to do this or that. In that respect, I think it's a cool little trick, and I really wonder what kind of accessibility functionality is going to come out of this for people who, for whatever reason, their hands aren't as good, aren't as quick, and they want to be able to interact with computer systems, whether because they want to move a mouse around with their eyes instead of their hands, or they want gaming to work a little better. These are early days yet for a device like this, especially one that is kind of invasive. It is looking at your eyes. These 3 little red dots are tracking where you are looking. So I can imagine people being a little freaked out in a world where we are being spied upon by pretty much all of our devices. But it's this sort of limited view kind of scanning of you. I don't believe it's really watching you and sending that much data back to the NSA. I could be wrong. But beyond that, it's an interesting limited use thing that in this specific use case of Deus Ex, it works. I like it. And I would like other first-person games and even other computer systems to be compatible with it.
I noticed in the video that you posted that you spent part of the time actually moving the character with your eyes, and then part of the time moving, I think, with your mouse, and then, you know, glancing to, I guess, shift your perspective. I have to imagine, like, that some thinking has to be done around the game mechanics, in the sense that you don't always necessarily want a character to move towards where you're looking. Like, you might want to look disassociated from your movement, right?
The movement doesn't happen without touching a button. That's the thing I think that really makes it work. Right. Is that unless you click a button, your perspective may shift a little bit, but because it doesn't recognize blinking as a button, right. You still have to press down. So I think what really was interesting was that it augmented my normal mouse and keyboard of using both of my hands, and I could just kind of glance at stuff, and it was just another way to decide what I was going to click on. And so that to me made it really feel natural. It didn't wear my eyes out. I didn't feel like I was straining myself looking left or right. I didn't have to move my neck, so that was kind of cool. So that to me was the surprising thing. I expected this to be a learning curve sort of situation where I had to get used to how my eyes affected things. But turns out I'm looking at the things that I want to interact with, and Tobai works really well in a first-person game. It doesn't seem like they had to do very much stuff to make it see where you're looking and adjust the game accordingly, which makes me think that other first-person games could work with this. So let's say we get 7 to 8 first-person games that are compatible with this thing within the next year. I would consider that $140 decently spent for, you know, the super geek who has that kind of money to throw around.
Was there any lag?
Tiny little bit of lag, and it turned out I could reduce that lag, and it felt a little uncomfortable. I actually liked the lag because then the game sort of, if I was glancing around really quickly, then the game would react that quickly. So it was nice for it to sort of say, okay, wait, he is definitely looking at this thing. Now I will adjust the vision slightly or select that item. I liked that tiny bit of delay, and it's nice that you can adjust it for your own comfort level.
Yeah, the accessibility aspect is really, that seems like a great use of it. But other than that, it seems a little bit like a poor man's VR a little bit. Because, I mean, it's cheaper than VR, but not as cool.
Well, VR is, there are people wanting to get eye tracking into virtual reality systems because of the way that the helmet is on your vision, and that when you look at things, it's not exactly like real life. The way that just glancing at a thing in the corner of my VR screen in my helmet is not the same as being in the real world glancing that way. One sort of use case that people are really interested in is eye tracking, so that when I look at something in the virtual world, it renders that part more sharply. The idea being that you could have more detail at the thing you're looking at, which would, because VR is very processor heavy. So if we could sort of limit it so it's only rendering part of your virtual reality screen because it notices what you're looking at, then you could potentially have crappier hardware run virtual reality really smoothly, which would make these sort of full systems that fit on your head more feasible. Because currently you have to have a thick wire connected to a very powerful computer. If we could essentially get a cell phone processor in the helmet and then use this sort of eye tracking thing to reduce what is rendered when, where, and how, we could have really feasible, full, no wire, all-in-one virtual reality stuff, which I think would make it a lot more accessible and a lot more likely for people to just use it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, earlier in the show, we talk a lot about kind of some of the pre-IFA announcements that were happening. One thing that we didn't talk about was Acer's announcement of the Predator Z27 IT. It's a 27-inch gaming monitor and has the Tobai built into the set itself. Is this the kind of thing that you want to see more of, or do you think it's like overall, is it just like too fringe at this point?
I think anything that adds a little bit of tracking that doesn't require very much processor power is not bad to add as an option. I think if there's more stuff built in like that, that's pretty cool, especially when it comes to the way this device mounts, which I didn't talk about. It's very finicky how you mount it because it wants to look directly at your eyes and it has to look from a certain angle. The device I had required gluing a little bit of a magnet onto my monitor and having it placed just so, and I couldn't tweak it if I placed it incorrectly. So having it built into a monitor like that is going to make it a little more useful, a little more comfortable. And beyond that, I just think that I don't know that it's necessarily going to be useful in every single app and every single thing. When I tried testing it out in Windows, it felt very limited because I still needed to use some sort of button. The idea of just sitting back and having it recognize my eyes, and also the fact that it needs me to be an exact distance and angle from the monitor, means this is ultimately a limited use thing. I don't think it's the worst thing ever because it just seems like a cheap thing to implement, and they're charging mostly for the R&D. These are 3 LED lights positioned in a certain way, talking to your computer in a certain way. The $140, I would say 120 of that is in R&D. So if they can get more of these cheaply into monitors, great. If not, no big deal. I don't think it's a super necessary thing, but I liked it. I liked using it. I would probably use it again for other games if I play that way. I just happen to like playing on a big HD TV. That doesn't work with the eye tracking. It's got to be a sort of device that's right at arm's length at the perfect angle. So that's the biggest issue in terms of greater consumption of this kind of use.
Who knows, maybe at the bottom of your big screen TV in your living room someday you'll have huge like spotlights, 3 of them at the very bottom tracking your
I've already
eyeballs.
got my microchip implant pre-ordered. I'm ready to just go into the Matrix, jack me in. I'm good to go.
Well, you also wrote about Bill Nye today. Bill Nye is back. Tell us what we can expect from the science
Can
guy.
I just sing the whole
Yes.
theme song?
Please.
Bill Nye, the science guy. Bill. Yes, Mr. Nye, Dr. Nye, he is coming back to television. He's been enjoying a bit of a career renaissance in the past couple of years as a no BS proponent of hard science, specifically taking on skeptics and idiotic politicians who like to politicize false science, pushing BS about climate change et al. Bill has been the kind of person that we at Ars Technica appreciate and love as a very smart, loudmouth proponent of good, hard science and facts. He's coming back to his own show as opposed to guest appearances on other people's shows or appearances on lecture halls. It's going to be, oh goodness, I don't remember the name of it. Someone
Bill
clue me in.
Nye Saves the World.
Bill Nye is going to save the world on Netflix in spring 2017. That was announced today. He's got both a comedy head writer and a science head writer, a stand-up comedian and an astronomer, respectively, that are going to be helping out with the talk show format. Netflix did not announce exactly how episodes will be rolled out, but we've seen the Chelsea show, the Chelsea Handler show, has been coming out as a sort of week-by-week thing as opposed to the binge watching all episodes of a season at once. I imagine that's going to be the case if it's going to be a talk show format with more people coming on regularly, perhaps more topical stuff coming on as a season progresses. No other real information other than Bill Nye having a statement saying that he really wanted to take on people who use science incorrectly, who say incorrect things about science for their own political gains. I think it's great, even if it's really super boring or generic or slow or whatever. I am happy that this will be a dedicated thing. Netflix has really proven out to give a lot of freedom, to give creators the ability to establish their own voice. What better way to apply that format than to let Bill Nye take it somewhere both informative and humorous?
Bill Nye, Pokemon, it's a 90s world. We're just living in it.
I've got my pogs ready to rock, my slammer fingers.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, Sam, as always, thank you so much for joining us. Sam is a culture reporter at Ars Technica. He's Sam Red on Twitter. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Sam.
See you guys at PAX. That's where I'm going to be all this weekend. So if you're in Seattle, come find this blonde, weird hair and this screaming face. Bye, guys.
Have fun.
Thanks.
All right, TNT's fan of the day is Robert Krause on Twitter, who shared this image of his rig with TNT on the screen up top. We're seeing a lot of these, and not one, not two, but 3 screens below it. Each of them, by the way, showing a different angle on what I'm assuming to be Robert's travel rig. Very proud of that travel rig there, I can tell. Keep on trucking. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup or your travel rig and post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we are going to find it. Up next, Instagram is stepping into the modern age. But first, let's take a minute to thank Trunk Club. They are the sponsor of this episode. Shopping can be very frustrating, especially if you sit outside of the normal kind of sizing structure, which I definitely do. You find yourself wandering from store to store, only to find clothes that just don't fit. They're not what you're looking for. Well, now thanks to Trunk Club, you can get clothes that look great and fit perfectly without stepping into a store again. With Trunk Club, you can easily upgrade your wardrobe with fall essentials, things like blazers, button-downs for men, sleeveless coats and sweater dresses for women, all across the map, just tons of styles. You just type in your measurements and share your style and spending preferences to connect with the right Trunk Club stylist, all for free. Your stylist will contact you by phone, email, or messenger, and that's just to basically get a better understanding of your unique look and to learn more about what you're looking for. Your stylist will then select items for your trunk from over 80 top brands, and they'll actually send you a preview of clothes that may be a good fit for you. So then once you get that, you just review the trunk, send it by email, make the edits before it's shipped right to your door, basically. You get that trunk shipped to your door, you open it up, there's all the clothes that they sent. You'll have 5 days to try on the clothes, keep what you like, send back the rest. Trunk Club is not a subscription service, and shipping is always free. They give you all the packing and all that kind of stuff to ship it back easily. Trunk Club is backed by Nordstrom, which means they have the highest standards in quality and customer service. And if you happen to live in Dallas, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, or DC, you can stop by one of the Trunk Club clubhouses to work with your stylist in person for free. Premium clothes, expert advice, no work. I like that it's no work. Thanks to your very own personal stylist at Trunk Club. Get started today at trunkclub.com/TNT. That's trunkclub.com/TNT, and we thank Trunk Club for their support.
Sometimes we disagree on what's the biggest news of the day, Jason.
Oh,
it's
yes.
true.
It's true.
It's true.
It's a battle every single day.
Yeah, every day. I say
not
sometimes,
really.
but I
Not
mean
really.
every day. So I said that Instagram was launching a new feature. You wondered what's the big deal, and I will tell you what the big deal is. Instagram now finally lets you pinch and zoom. Boop. This is huge. How else can I see what books are on people's shelves and family photos they post, or whether Kim Kardashian is wearing eyeliner under her eyes or just over her eyes? You can't see that unless you pinch and zoom. You can't see that cute dog unless you pinch and zoom. Now, you would have thought that they had pinch and zoom
I
a
would
long
have
time
thought that.
ago.
You're right,
Nope.
Megan.
Nope. But maybe this is why you weren't that excited about it.
Yeah.
It's only available on iOS. Coming to Android soon.
Isn't that just the way of the world?
I know.
Isn't that just peachy?
You don't even really Instagram, do you? Do you even Instagram, Jason?
Oh, man, are you calling me out on my Instagram? I mean, I have an Instagram account. I posted a decent, catalog of photos there. I don't Instagram all the time, though. Like, I think of Instagram every once in a while when I see something that looks like artistic. Like, it's not a picture of my kids. It's not, some random, I don't know. It's like I look at a flower or I look at a landscape and I go, this could use a filter and, could be in square dimensions. But then they remove the square dimension requirement. They allow you to pinch and zoom. I mean, what is Instagram anymore?
I know. It's sad. Do you do a lot of pinching and zooming on photos, like on Facebook? I don't want to be sexist or anything, but I was thinking about this and I wondered if pinching and zooming is like a gender thing. If like women
interesting question.
want to see up close more than men do. Like,
I don't know.
it's how we've evolved or something.
I pinch and zoom. I pinch and zoom all the time. I was just pinching and zooming the other day.
You don't have
on
to prove
Facebook.
You don't have to prove anything here, Jason. We're all friends here. It's okay.
I love this conversation.
Tell us
okay,
if
to
you
answer your
pinch and
question,
zoom. Okay.
to answer your question, yes. When I'm looking at photos on Facebook, if it makes sense to pinch and zoom to see close-up information on whatever I happen to be looking at, I'm I certainly don't look at it and go, no, I don't do that on Facebook.
Okay.
I definitely do.
Okay. Helpless Corgi in the chat room says he's a guy and he pinches and zooms. Let us know if you pinch and zoom. I want to know. TNT, it's the question of the day. TNT at twit.tv. Do you pinch and zoom?
It's a good question of the day. I'm really curious to hear what we have to say. I want to know if this is divided down gender lines. I want to know what this means. What does it mean that people either do or do not pinch to zoom?
Yeah, is it like Googling people? Is it like a little bit stalkerish? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess that depends on what you're pinching and zooming. Defending.
True.
I don't know. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be a part of the show by emailing us at tnt@twit.tv. You can leave us a short voicemail. That's 260-TNT-SHOW. Maybe you want to leave us, your voice about your pinch and zoom habits. You can also hit us up on Twitter or at Tech News Today TV.
You can find all the ways to subscribe to our show at twit.tv/TNT. If you want to tweet at me, I'm at Megan Morrone. And if you want a t-shirt or a hoodie,
that's right.
Go to teespring.com and you can get the East Side inaugural gear. Good prices. We don't make a lot of money on these. They're just kind of to show off our new logo, and it's only for a limited time.
Yeah, do it. And I'm at Jason Howell on Twitter. Thanks to our technical director, Kara Cole. Thanks to Matt, doing awesome with the words on the screen. Thanks to Kevin for editing, Burke for sitting over there and eating his lunch at us. And thanks to you for talking tech with us today. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye, everyone.